J.
Alright people, como estas, and welcome back to the Average Joe Sports Talk Show. I'm your host, Jay Real. So glad that you could make it into the house here, filmed in Ruidoso, New Mexico. We are, again, just privileged and honored to have you with us. Now, we have to just say, what in the world is going on with sports today? There are so many things that are just having people scratching their heads wondering, what in the world? What are people thinking? What are athletes thinking? What are sports teams thinking? What are coaches thinking? And what in the world are the general public, average, everyday fans thinking? We have Aaron Hernandez, who is charged with murder, charged with other crimes soon to be coming down the pipeline. We have teams actually looking at and possibly signing or offering contracts to Andrew Bynum, and we'll get into that in the NBA section of the show today. We have sports teams actually giving any merit or credit or weight or validity, whatever that word is. Who cares about Jay-Z and his sports marketing company? Give me a freaking break. And then we actually have people calling NASCAR a sport. Now, don't get me wrong. We think driving in an oven for all day is a very hard condition to live with. We do understand you have to be in some type of condition for the most part to endure the vigors of driving a NASCAR at 200 plus miles an hour. But let's be real, folks. Anybody that can drive a car, and can especially drive a car fast, can be a NASCAR driver. Let's just look at this. Travis Pastrana, I believe his name is, all-star, amazing motocross champion, motocross thrill seeker, daredevil, whatever you want to call it. He could just jump right into a Formula One or a NASCAR set-up vehicle and drive and compete. That just gives you a small example that if you have the drive, you have the goal, you have the ambition to drive a NASCAR, you can drive it. I'm not saying you will be the best. I'm not even saying that you would win. But anyone that had the goal to be a NASCAR driver could do it if they chose to. That to me is a little bit different than playing football or playing basketball or lacrosse or bicycling, for heaven's sake. Those to me are actual sports that endure physical or one-on-one, team-on-team competition. Not so much where a vehicle or something electronical or something with a tire that could cause you to lose in this particular activity. That's just, we're not knocking NASCAR. We love NASCAR. But to call it an all-out sport, we're just kind of having trouble with that. And a perfect example is, we're not even going to name any names, but the face of GoDaddy.com, she, too, is considered a NASCAR driver. And for heaven's sakes, folks, really, is that the case? Maybe she's just a pretty face with a nice body that can drive very fast. Until she wins, until she comes home with a trophy or a title, it's going to be hard to say that because, again, Travis has done it. He's jumped in NASCARs from motocross, and he's racing NASCARs. We'll leave it at that. Then let's get on to LeBron James. LeBron James is all day long and for the last 2 years being put in the same breath, the same sentence as King Michael Jordan. Now, we've already broke this down many times, but some new questions have arisen. Some new challenges for LeBron to be compared have arisen. And I just thought it'd be fair to throw this out to you real quick. So let's look at it. Michael Jordan has gone on to college from high school and won a college championship with his college team. Can LeBron James ever possibly compete or compare with that statistic? No, because we already know LeBron went straight from high school to the pros. Moving on. LeBron James has not played on a caliber championship team as in the 92 USA Olympic team, the Dream Team, which was headed up by yours truly, Michael Jordan. Now, we do have to give LeBron his props. He did play on the Olympic team where they won a gold medal, but they could not even sniff the jocks of the 92 Olympic Dream Team that Michael Jordan ran as his own team. This guy was the cream of the crop of all of the best players of the Dream Team, and Michael Jordan just rose above the rest. LeBron James would never be able to compete with that. Now, we are going to try to be fair. There are, again, different teams, different years, different players, all that, but we're just going off of the facts here. He cannot compete with that 92 Dream Team of Michael Jordan. Moving on, Michael Jordan has won six NBA championships. They could have went on to win 8 championships. Put that into perspective, folks. From 1993 all the way to 1996, 97, and then onward. That would have been the most amazing ever. I mean, there would have been no way to put that into context. Them winning 8 championships in a 10-year period. That in a decade. That would be phenomenal. But we can't go there. So we're going to leave that alone. We're just throwing that in for fun. So LeBron has 2 championships. Yes, he does. Jordan has 6. Had played more years, but let's not go back. LeBron started earlier in his career, so we can't lose sight of that either. Moving on. LeBron has already jumped ship on one of his teams to go to another team that already had a championship quality player in Dwayne Wade to win a championship. To win a championship, he had to go from his team to a championship setup style team to win a championship. 2 of them to be exact. Michael Jordan stuck with the same team, stuck with the same players that were brought in, drafted, whatever you want to call it, on the Chicago Bulls till the very end of his career, where he tried to extend a little bit of that Michael Jordan phenomenon, but it was just over. He was over his mid-30s, and it was sad to see him go to another team to try to extend his career, but that's what unfortunately ends up happening with a lot of players in the NBA. But in the prime, you can't touch 6 titles. Now, looking at just those scenarios, just that level there, how could there be any comparison? So that's funny that the LeBron James and Michael Jordan talk still goes on to this day, and it will continue to go on as long as LeBron James is winning championships. But that's okay. That's what it's all about. Championships spell greatness. Unfortunately for LeBron James, he had to jump on the skirt tails and on the coattails of Dwayne Wade to win championships. And we'll leave it at that. And then finally, we're going to have to say what is going on with sports today when you have Anderson, the Spider, getting beat down by a nobody, by a somebody that didn't even have credentials to be in the ring with the guy. That is just, it's insane. And what we're going to do is, we're going to try to get our UFC expert on the line. We're just going to cut away real quick. We're not going to go to commercial or anything. We're going to save that. But we just want to cut away real quick and try to bring in our expert of UFC who was watching the event, just lived and breathed that fight, and see what she has to say about Anderson Silva losing to, I don't even know the guy's name. So we're cut away. We'll be right back. J Real says, don't go away. A lot of cool show left. All right, welcome back. I told you we're just going to cut away for a second. We had to try and hunt down and track down our UFC expert, Shannon, and we were just able to get lucky enough to get her on the line. Hey, Shannon, what's going on, girl?
Nothing. Same old. What's going on with you?
Not much. shock right now. I am in shock right now. How in the world did Anderson Silva, the Spider Silva, the greatest champion, they say, of all time, lose to a guy that no one even knew about?
Anderson Silva got careless. He got cocky. He thought he was unbeatable, and he thought he was like the Titanic. He thought he was the unsinkable ship, you know?
Oh my gosh! When you gave me the news that evening, I was just unable to believe. But then you know what? I started contemplating, and I had to go and look at the fight, and it almost looks like he wants to see what it feels like to be knocked out or something, because he keeps putting himself out there like that.
Well, the whole, like, if you think back to, like, especially, like, the Damian Maia fight, where he egged him on and kept telling him, come on, kept egging him on. And, you know, and he did it to Shoshone and Damian Maia almost every fight he's ever been in. And it just so happened that when he did that with Weidman capitalized on it and said, here you go, dude.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I've been watching Anderson Silva fight, you know, since he came into the UFC, which has been well over 10 years ago. And when Anderson Silva first started fighting in the UFC, I was a huge UFC and a huge Anderson Silva fan. But as the years gone by and he's gotten so incredibly cocky, I was just waiting for somebody to knock him off that pedestal, and I loved it. It was great. It was awesome.
Yeah, no. I definitely think there needed to be a change because, my gosh, he's been just running through people, like you said, for a decade now. But, my gosh, when you look at that fight, it's like, okay, yeah, you see the cockiness, but then it's almost like he gets his bell rung the first time. You think he would snap, but then he just throws it back out there and like, hey, here's my face, knock me out.
Well, yeah, and Weidman, there was all that talk before the fight. You know, they did 2 hours of all this crap talk before the fight, and everybody was saying that actually Weidman was going to win this fight. And Anderson Silva actually spent much of the first round on his back. And honestly, I think that if Silva wouldn't have slipped up and done what he did, I still believe he would have lost that fight eventually.
Yeah. Well, let me ask this, because now the controversy's out there. And let me just throw this out to you. I don't know if you've heard about it or not. But they say that the UFC, with the amount of champions and the quality of champions that they've had with George St. Pierre, he's been the guy on the top for years, decade, whatever. Now you got John Bones Jones, who hasn't been able to be touched really in about, 2-3 years? How long has it been since he's been on top?
I think it's about 3 years, probably, maybe even longer.
Okay, and now you got your lightweight guys with Aldo and all these guys that have just been sitting there running through people. That the UFC's been a little bit predictable, and it's losing its mainstream people because of the caliber of challengers for these champions. So then now it's saying that this fight that Weidman, is that his name, right?
Yeah, Chris Weidman.
That they wanted this guy to win. That the UFC needed Weidman to win because now it's all about the rematch and the rubber match between these three.
Well, I would go with that, except George St. Pierre hasn't always been a winner. George St. Pierre has lost several fights, actually, and he has come back and he has taken his belt back. And there has been some controversy to it.
Yeah. Okay, looks like we may have lost. Are you there, Shannon? Okay, well, we may have lost our expert there for a second, but I think what she was trying to say is that there has been some losses by champions in the UFC in the championship rankings. But what we're going to come back with, and hopefully we can get her back on the phone, we'll see. But what we're going to come back with is look at the championship fights when George St. Pierre has came back to win his titles. Those are the fights that people pay big money for and that people will rent the pay-per-views for. So the UFC is looking at Anderson Silva, who has not even been, besides Shell Shonen in the first match, no one has even put a scratch on Anderson Silva. And even then, it was almost like Anderson Silva, in the fight that you saw over this weekend, had just given away all hope of meeting somebody in the ring that would challenge him. And it took a Shell Shonen to put him on his back, beat up on him for about 3 or 4 rounds, for him to kind of get that fire back, and he chokes him out. Then he goes on his next 4 or 5 fights and just stomping people, comes up with Widman or Weidman, whatever this guy's name is, and it's almost like, really, this is the best you're going to throw at me? He probably had no interest at all in this opponent. And it's right. It was his cockiness, it was his selfishness, and it was his lack of interest in his opponent that I think costed him his title. So going on from that, what are we going to see now? I predict that Anderson the Spider Silva, if he doesn't want to retire at this point, which I could not imagine. Imagine you have been the champion for over a decade, no one even touching you. Why would you want to retire with a loss to a guy that doesn't even have a name, doesn't even have a face in the UFC yet? I predict Spider Silva will come back, fight this fighter again, and prove that he is the best fighter in the world, and beat this guy down, retain his title, get his title back, and then at that point, if he wants to retire because he's bored of fighting in the UFC, I believe at that point is when he will retire, and he will retire a champion. Now, given that, there's also the possibility that if all of the people are correct that are going on about this conspiracy, that Anderson Silva would come back, win his title back, then in that would have to give Weidman his opportunity in the rubber match 3, Weidman, Silva 3, a chance to win his belt back, which again, Anderson Silva would be pumped up for, would be focused for, because he wants to prove and wants everyone to know that he is the best fighter in the world. He would totally dominate women again, and then with that retire, being that that was his big challenge. So that's where we're going to leave it. I do believe that Silva was his worst enemy in this fight. He cost himself the fight. He did not take his opponent seriously, did not give him any opportunity or chance to win, put his face out there too many times, and Weidman, being a savvy fighter, came through with a knockout. No more than that. I'm not going to put too much into this because I don't believe Weidman will be champion more than possibly one other fight, if even that fight, because I do believe Silva should be given the opportunity to rematch in Weidman's next fight, and he will lose. So, moving on from that, there's our UFC break. We got to thank Shannon so much. Sorry we lost her, folks. We'll try to get her back maybe on Friday's show to recap some of the other fights, but we got to move on. Now, getting on to the Andrew Bynum situation in the NBA. How would anybody be willing to offer this guy millions of dollars to play for a multi-year deal? That is the most insane, most irresponsible way that management could run a team in giving this guy an opportunity. Now, let me back up. Not an opportunity, but a 2-year deal. If anything, the guy didn't want to work out for any teams. Okay, fine. He is one of the best big men when he's healthy, and when he played his last year for the Lakers, he had good numbers. So it is hard, and we all love our big men in the NBA, but my gosh, give the guy a 1-year deal with incentives to make a paycheck. Not guaranteed money. If someone gives this guy guaranteed money, they're guaranteed idiots. because last year the guy sat on the bench the whole season, didn't play, cost this team millions of dollars to be a cheerleader. And now you're going to go into another season with another team that's going to offer guaranteed millions of dollars. Believe me, it should all be set up on play. How does he play and how well does he play? If I'm a GM, I'm knocking this guy down on a 1-year contract with a possible 2-year to extend, because if he does show some improvement on his first year and he does play to potential his first year, you have him locked up for at least another year if you wanted to keep this guy under contract and see what other players you could bring in. And it's the Cleveland Cavaliers that are willing to take a chance with reportedly offering this guy a 2-year deal. We'll just have to see how this plays out, but I guarantee you, if the Cleveland Cavalier GM offered this guy guaranteed millions, again, guaranteed moron. All right, moving on from the NBA, where we have some more show we got to cover, so we're just going to try to move on. Victor Cruz in the NFL with the Giants has signed a 5-year deal extension worth $46 million, or right under $46 million. 15.5 of that guaranteed money. Good for you, Victor Cruz. This guy was an undrafted free agent. Nobody wanted him. Nobody wanted this guy. And he comes into the league with the Giants the first year and breaks all of their receiving records, makes a touchdown after touchdown, takes 5- and 10-yard passes as a slot receiver and takes them for 99 yards. That's the record that he has right now, 99 yards. This guy has been a producer, has been a benefit to this team, his community, and guess what? Eli Manning loves this guy. He is his target that he wants to hit time and time again. So good for you, Victor Cruz, for hitting the payday. We have no problem, as we've heard on the radios and all these talk shows, sports shows, all morning and afternoon long. How could the Giants have signed a receiver to this kind of deal? Are they crazy? Are they insane? You know what? It's just good football, ladies and gentlemen. This guy is the future of the team when it comes to receivers. Him and Eli have a chemistry together, and the guy will take a 10-yard pass and take it to the house. That's all we got to say about Victor Cruz. Good for you, and good job. Now, we're going to cut away. We're going to take a quick break. This will be a commercial break because we got to thank our sponsors, the Player Zone, all this cool stuff. They have it. If you want it, they'll get it for you. If they don't have it, sports cards, memorabilia, Magic the Gathering, toys for girls and for boys, Star Wars figures, action figures, you name it, they got it. You can contact them through the Player Zone Facebook, or you can go right to riadosomidtown.com, click on the Merchants tab, bam, you go right to Player Zone. You can get in direct contact with them. Also, we got to thank Right On Time Aaron Delivery Service. They are our other big sponsor. Couldn't have the house, couldn't have this amazing studio to come to you in YouTube land and bring you some cool sports bits and our cuts on the sports. So we're going to cut away real quick. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in 30 plus seconds. See you on the other side.
Oh wow, the stuff in the Player Zone is so cool. Oh wow, they got Magic, sports cards, Yu-Gi-Oh, and I think there's some comic books back there. And the Player Zone will even price this stuff for free. Oh wow, Player Zone will buy, sell, and trade any of this stuff. And what can I get for her?
All right, welcome back from the break. We hope you enjoyed that little commercial. And moving on to the Magic Minute. That's right, all you gamers, nerds, geeks, we love you there. We love you out there in YouTube land and all over the world, actually. We got to come and give you the gaming side of the show. How it works is we're going to explain last week's tournament winners because the Player Zone conducts Friday Night Magic every Friday around 5 o'clock. Anyone's welcome to participate. And on the show here, we also let you know what's going on for that week's tournament. So for last Friday's tournament results, we have in third place Owen Little. He is a local, a brand new player, only about a month into the game of Magic the Gathering, and he's already doing well. Moving on to second place, we have Thurston Scott, again another local, and good for him, moving up the tournament board to second place. Can't say enough for him, great player. And then finally, Matt is our number one place tournament winner. He is a new player because he is not from here. He works out at the Billy the Kid racetrack as a trainer, and he is implanted here for the summer. And what does the guy do? He shows up for his first Friday Night Magic tournament and wins it. It was amazing. Great deck he built. Can't say enough about the guy. He's a good player, great strategical player, and he took the tournament last Friday. Now moving on to this week. That's right, the big show is going down on Saturday, 1 o'clock. Between 1 and 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock being the deadline for the pre-release for M14. That's right, folks, this Saturday, which is the 13th, I believe, from 1, 2 o'clock deadline. We'll start around 2, but 1 is when everyone can show up, start getting decks, ideas, start getting trades in, all the stuff that we like to do here at the Player Zone. We'll begin at 1, 2 o'clock. Tournament time is the deadline time. M14 will be pre-released only on Saturday. There will be no tournament on Sunday. There will be no tournament on Friday for the pre-release of M14. Just on Saturday, beginning around 2 o'clock. So don't forget, if you're interested in that, be here for that. Now, what does that mean about Friday Night Magic? Friday Night Magic this week, which is the 12th, will be anything goes. And folks, when we mean anything goes, we mean anything as long as it's an actual Magic card. Can't use any unglued, can't use any unhinged, can't use any made up, wannabe, made it in your bedroom off your printer card. As long as it's an actual plain card of Magic the Gathering, an official card. Now it can be proxied. Don't get confused. Proxies are actual cards made by Magic, but they either have altered art or altered pictures. Could be full size, could be full art, however you want to say it. Anything goes means anything goes. You could play proxies, you could play old, new, middle, whatever you want. That's what anything goes means. Alright? Now, moving on with that, the Player Zone will be giving up to 5th place prize support on the pre-release on Saturday. Friday Night Magic is only up to 3 place tournament winners, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Now, moving on to Saturday's event, also, they will be offering door prizes for that. So even if you don't want to come in and play, maybe you want to come watch and learn, you come in, you have an opportunity of winning something. So anyway, folks, we just can't say enough about this pre-release coming up on this Saturday, the 13th. Again, I believe it's the 13th. Don't miss it, and if you're interested in coming on Friday night, you're also welcome. Anything goes Friday night. So for right now, we're going to go ahead and go to our wrap-up. We can't say enough about Player Zone hooking us up with the Magic Minute, and again, all this cool stuff. But we're going to wrap up with something on the NFL. We've been keeping track and keeping you all up to date with the Aaron Hernandez situation. But my God, this guy is turning into the Al Capone of the NFL. It seems like everything this guy did over the last few years has had some type of criminal element involved. Now, the owner of the New England Patriots has came out in an interview just recently. First time he's came out and talked publicly about the Aaron Hernandez situation. Has said that if these claims, if these charges are true, that they were duped by Aaron Hernandez, that he duped the team somehow. This is all I got to say about that. How in the world could anyone anticipate a player that you sign being a multi-killer, threat in the criminal element like this guy. No one could expect it or expected this from anybody in this fashion, in this way. So how can you be duped? No one would go into a signing thinking, okay, well, this guy might only kill one person, but we could sign him. And then they find out later down the road he murdered 5 people and you were duped that way. No. There's no way in the world that you could be duped by a killer. That is just something that you can't anticipate. It's a horrific crime, and I hope no one takes this in the sense that it's their fault. Only person that's responsible for murder is the person committing the crime. That's it. You take a chance on them as a team owner. Once you find out that they're a criminal or a murderer, if the charges are true, then you fire the guy who is what they did, what the owner, Kraft, did. And I just got to say, good job. Don't worry about feeling duped. Worry about doing the right thing after you find out what's real and what's not. And you did that, so kudos to you and your team. And as far as Aaron Hernandez goes, the guy's still sitting in jail, claiming that he has no ties to gang affiliations. We'll just have to wait and see. When the evidence and all the facts come out and the proof is out there, that's when here at the Average Joe Sports Talk Show we will make our final analysis. As of right now, it's not looking good for the young man, but again, looks can be deceiving. So for right now, we are going to sign off on this Tuesday edition of the show. Thank you for tuning in. Can't wait to see you on Friday's show. Thank you, Shannon, for your expertise on the UFC. Get back with you to get that final wrap up of what we missed on what you were trying to say. But for right now, Jay Real's going to sign out. Peace and much love. We will see you all next time. Jay Real. Jay